I am joined as ever by Laure Jackson. Hello, Anne.
Hello, great to see you. Good to be here.
Now, we talk every week about sensory health because you're an occupational therapist with a specialty in sensory health and not speech, which would have been great right then. But we've had 50 of these interviews, these sessions, these chats, these conversations of hopefully brightening someone's day around the whole world of sensory health.
Oh, brightening someone's day. I love that. Anything where we can do and infuse brightness and lightness and a little bit of joy, a little bit of inspiration. That would be lovely if we can be doing that.
Infused brightness. There's a thought for you. That's a tea bag we should market. Infused sensory health. Soak for 5 minutes. Right.
Uh,
Now, we've talked about all sorts of things. I was reflecting last night as I thought about meeting you today, thinking, I remember a conversation about designing a truck, which was a little bit odd. But we ended up talking about how the senses would be affected by the wind noise and sitting there for a prolonged period of time, the fidgeting and all that. And we ended up designing, I think, quite well on an interview, impromptu, by the way, a pretty good cab, I think, for a truck. But I was thinking about some of these common things. Like we were driving the other day, and our car, I discovered, has somewhere a must be a little bit of weak rubber. So as you're driving along and you get quicker, you can hear the wind whistling a teeny tiny bit. Below 50 miles an hour, not a problem. Above 60, yeah, you can hear the wind. It's really interesting. But these little things that we don't anticipate can get quite irritating, can't they?
they can indeed, they really can. And I've got a washing machine at the minute. We've just bought a new washing machine, and when it comes to the spin, I'm sure it's something about the balancing of the feet, which we need to get into. But there is one portion of the spin where literally it's going for it, and then it settles. And it's just, what is there in the design? Why is it fine spinning really, really high, but it really rattles and moves in that middle bit? And I don't know if that's something that we haven't done, or if that's something in the design. But I also know actually how some people love washing machines, and you might know your toddler. Well, there are some people who so love the washing machine. It's a brilliant sensory tool, just as a complete aside on that bit. Washing machines, yes. Who would have thought it as a therapeutic piece of equipment? But yeah, we can chat about that a bit more if you want.
Well, it's pinging ideas as you imagine it might do. So I'm thinking about how you have the washing machine as a rule. I know that UK, US, we have slightly different washing machines as a rule. We have front loaders here in the UK, generally speaking. Americans would probably prefer to have top loaders, which we would have had probably 70 years ago here in the UK. And there are all these differences. I don't know how much effect that has on it. So I'm not going there because that's spinning in different axes, isn't it? But the UK ones, which I'm guessing you've got a similar one in Jersey.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's interesting how you have this brand new thing, which is supposed to be factory fresh, flawless. It's going to work brilliantly. You set it up, you read the manual, and it doesn't work. But how often is that the case? We have a baby. The baby comes along. It's factory fresh, and yet there's something in the sensory health that we may not detect until they start spinning round and round and round, and they realize we're not even feeling this. Everyone else is throwing up around them because factory fresh doesn't necessarily mean perfect in every single possibility.
No, it doesn't. I'm loving this. Carry on.
So I'm just thinking, your washing machine, you switch it on, you plug it in, it's all nice and shiny, off it goes. No scratches, no dents, it's all good, like a newborn baby. But at some point, as that washing machine starts to go through and action stuff it's supposed to do, at some point, that baby, as it starts to crawl, starts to climb, there may well be a sensory health that suddenly erupts. Because we're not talking about, they're having a difficulty holding a pen. Yeah, that we can probably work that over time, or a bit of balance. Yeah, that'll come. But sometimes it doesn't. And it's not until they really start to do something that they have a meltdown because they're in sensory overload. Not, we can't do it. It's a bit frustrating. We're way past that.
Yeah.
How do you help parents prepare them for recognizing the difference, I guess, between you need to adjust the feet on the bottom of the washing machine because maybe it's a little bit imbalanced. Perhaps not because the washing machine's out of balance, but one tile is slightly raised, which you wouldn't even perceive, but it's just throwing it off just enough. So under duress, your washing machine then starts to bounce or shake. And under duress, that newborn child, that toddler, is suddenly having a meltdown. How do we help people understand the difference between wanting to learn frustration and something that's way beyond something that essentially is outside their control?
Yeah, that's really interesting because I had a little one into the center um, today, And just through play and exploration, just letting the child relax, mum was starting to talk about the difficulties that they have when it comes to sleep time and settling the little one. And the fact that at the moment they still have to be really, 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 really close. They tried the swaddling a little bit, and they said that was really helpful, but then got to a point where they were just using themselves instead. And for me, I'm always looking for clusters of information. What else is it? What else is happening during the day? What else is happening as part of that sleep time experience that is not now helping the mum, but obviously is helping the baby, because when babies are happy, they go to sleep. When they're settled and they're regulated, they're able to go to sleep. And when they're not, they can't. So it's this that, right, okay, we need to unpick some of this stuff to work out what is just typical and then what is really progressing into a sensory processing and integration issue that could really do with some therapy. Now, I don't think this little one needed therapy, but some of the sensory strategies, the understanding of the fact that this little one is a real seeker. So in the vestibular system. So if you're seeking in the vestibular system and not for any other issues other than you really need movement, you really want those senses to be stimulated to help you feel good, to know where you are in space, which is what the vestibular system gives you, which is based in the inner ear, then it's really important not to do the whole calm before bedtime. What you need to do is actually a lot of activity before bedtime so that the brain can register, oh, yes, I feel really good. Now I can go to sleep. I know where I am in space because I have actually been flipped upside down, because I have actually been doing some swinging. And that's not really what you normally advise for little babies. It really is the bath time and keep everything quiet and this. But this little one was obviously very, very different. So we need to work on their touch system, because that's a little thing that we need to work on for them, because we talked about it, but also their vestibular system. And we have to treat everybody that differently, according to their needs. But it was just fascinating to hear this little one and then to see how they were in the center and the kind of things that they gravitated to, just very, very unsteadily on their feet, but heading towards. They obviously knew what they wanted, and were heading towards certain pieces of equipment rather than other pieces of equipment that were in the center.
I guess it's a bit like the one size fits all hat. It doesn't fit all. If you're super tiny, of course it's going to fit. I've never been able to wear a full size and a one size hat because my excuse is my brain is too big. But it doesn't always fit, does it? And this is the thing: when we have this one size approach, yes, generally, maybe that could be okay. But then there's all the generalies that aren't. It's like the 2.4 children. I've never met zero point 0.4 of a child. It might be an average, but it doesn't help us when we are that zero point 0.4 child, when we have got that head that doesn't fit because it's smaller or bigger than the average. So it makes sense. But when you think about parenting, it's exactly what you said, isn't it? You're taught, you're told. All the books will say, calm your child, have a bath with the child so they can be nice and warm and gentle, and then they'll go to bed and go to sleep really well. I'm not sure that always worked for us either. Not because my kids had, they needed lots of activity, but we didn't really do the whole quiet thing. I've never done that. I walk into the bedroom, ramp them up, and start playing with them and stuff. And I don't know, it worked. It was just them, and Joe was different, and that's fine. But it is hard, isn't it, when everybody around us is doing bath time and bedtime and quiet time and snuggle time and then sleep time. And if your baby isn't doing that, your child, or if it's an adult, that doesn't work for us. It's really hard to accept, well, what's wrong with me? Well, actually, maybe nothing. It's just you need a different approach.
And it's really hard. Well, I'm also working with someone who's older at the moment. It's trying to work out how much of what is going on is hormonal for them, but their sleep systems, they're kind of like, their rhythms are totally different, which if you want them to go to a school or a college is kind of tricky because their timings are different. And I'd love to find out more how we can be more potentially flexible. Shift work will work amazingly for some people. I always used to think shift work was really awful. And I thought the advent of electricity just really messed with our society. Because now people were being forced to stay up when they wanted to go to sleep and things like this. And it was really messing with our body systems. And then there was also science about how that can be quite detrimental. But I'm thinking that actually there's a lot of sensory people, there's a lot of people who actually that is just brilliant because they don't have that regular rhythm. And I think before I would have very much been that it's really important that we get it. And I think it's very important that we do get a decent amount of sleep. But what if it's not between 10 o'clock in the morning and 8 o'clock? It's 10 o'clock at night rather and 8 o'clock in the morning. How can we work with people who can get a really good dose of sleep, but it's just not at the time that the rest of society does? Now that's a big question, but I'm certainly coming across more and more people for whom they have shifted, and actually it works really well for them to shift for themselves, but it doesn't work well in their schooling or their education, or even their workplace.
Because we are all different. I used to work full-time nights, so I would start on a Monday night. I'd work through till the end of the week, five nights in a row, and it was quite tiring. I never really adjusted to it, but I did meet people who seemed to be completely okay with the fact that it's 4 o'clock in the morning and they're having their lunch. It made sense to them, and they were quite comfortable. There were others who were doing it, I guess, because they felt they had no choice financially. They were the people that were very pale, their eyes were very sunk in their heads, and I'm thinking, you're not living a healthy life. But there were
Yeah.
others who genuinely seemed to be completely alert, completely awake night after night. I was not one of them. I did my best. I was driving trucks, so I wanted to be awake, but it never fitted. There were truck drivers who would happily get up at 4 o'clock every morning, 5 a.m. I was never the trucker that was happy and comfortable getting up at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. Yes, I did it to the best of my ability. I was never dangerous because I'd have pulled across and had a sleep, but it never really meshed well with who I was. But I met others for whom it was.
That's really interesting. And that's so much part of that journey of finding out who you are, all the aspects of who you are from a sensory, emotional, cognitive. Finding that right fit is such a beautiful place to
Mm.
flourish from, to really enjoy life, to be in that place of abundance with it. And don't, yeah, it's about not disregarding that stuff. It is really important.
Because we all have a place in the world. The occupational therapist part of what you do, which I
Mhm.
guess is probably the core central bit of how it works
Mhm.
when you're working with people. But that's the bit about working. That's about fitting in with society. That's about finding your place and being able to contribute meaningfully to your community, your country, your nation, the people around you. So it is important to find that good fit. I loved trucking. I've always missed the driving, still do to this day, but I've never ever missed the lifestyle of randomly going away from the family because I like my own bed. Not complicated. I like cooking meals at a cooker, not on a stovetop gas hob in a truck.
Uh-huh.
Yes, you can do it. It's not quite as fun. So I loved it, but I don't miss the lifestyle. I don't miss the long days. I don't miss a 15-hour day and a 2-hour commute each way because that's normal for many, many people. And it's quite tiring. I've never missed that, but I do miss the driving.
Mm. And therefore, if I was coming to you as a consultant, which I'm not because I'm here just having a chat with you, which is like, well, what other things are there that will provide that? And it's interesting. We're having a discussion with somebody else about bike riding and the need for speed. But actually being really concerned for them because of the number of people that I've worked with in hospital who have lost limbs because of the whole bike riding experience. So on the one hand, I'm thinking, yeah, it's great. It feeds your vestibular system, but I'm very cautious and very conscious of the impact with that. So it's like, how can we find that need to speed? What activities can we find you? What else is out there? And for us being on an island, we've got jet skis, which is when you don't have half so many accidents on a jet ski, but also if you come off your jet ski, you land in the water. Yes, there can be complications to how you land, but it's not half as bad as a bike. So it's kind of like, how can we in life when things aren't working, like you for trucking, for driving, loving the driving experience, what is it the length of time? Is it, we could tease and pull out all the things that you love about the driving. Is it the sense of control or the smoothness in which you control things? It's a bit like you controlling maybe your sound and whatever else on your gadgets and all the things you have in a radio show. But it's so it's like, and going back to the motorbike, it's like, okay, we've got that speed, but let's do it in a way that is less harmful to your body and more likely to help you keep your limbs connected to your torso. So yeah, jet ski was where we came out with our conversation, but it's hopefully that's something for folks to think about. That yeah, if you know that you love something but it's not really working, or you're cautious or conscious that it might not be so helpful, how else can you tweak that?
I have some thoughts. So,
Mm.
jet ski, one of the things about water is if you drop from a great height, it's going to hurt because the faster you hit water, the harder it gets. I don't understand the physics. I just know that I don't want to jump into a river, thanks very much, because it hurts from a height. But on a jet ski, of course, you've not got walls. I know water can become harder, but if you're on a motorbike, I mean, I loved biking. If you hit a wall, there's no there's
Mm.
no elasticity whatsoever, ever. 5 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour, it's going to hurt. I don't care who you are. You haven't got enough padding in the wheel for that. I've come off and bike a couple of times at very, very low speed, like less than 5 miles an hour. Never my fault. It always hurt.
Wow.
But with water, it's basically going to cushion most of the blow in a way that a wall won't. So yes, what a perfect solution. You can still get the sense of being fast as long as you can cope with being wet, because you're going to get wet in the water. That would work. But now I was thinking about the trucking, what you were saying, because one of the things I said to my boys the other day is I actually get. It was really hard to let go of my driving license. Little Andy B, honesty moment, I really struggled to let go of it because I was chosen by name from many sites. They would send we want a job, but we want Andy B. We don't want anybody else. Don't, but we'll tell him away at the gate. We only want him because he's really good. Certain crane jobs, we only want Andy. Don't bother sending anybody else. We will refuse to load them. We only want him because we know he's really good. And it was really hard to let go of that because I was wanted by name. And there's that feeling of, but people want me because I'm good at what I do. And I was. That's not arrogant. I really was good at what I did. I could split a pack of slabs with a grab and I could actually split it. And people are like, how did you manage to do that? Because I loved controlling 7 levers kind of simultaneously. I loved doing that. So there is something about what you said of what I do now, which actually is similar, because on a radio station, you've got all this stuff that's going on at the same time. If you're operating a crane, a lorry mounted crane, you're not just, whacking a lever up and down. I was really quite smooth and soft with what I did. I mean, I played keyboard in churches for 30 years, so my hands are quite good. So I would be very, very smooth. And where I would watch someone using a crane and the lorry's bouncing because they're just whacking this lever up and down, I'm thinking, could you please stop and I'll do it for you? Because I like gentle and smooth and soft because it was safer, quite frankly. No other reason. And that safety is what drove me to want to be good. It wasn't because I wanted to be good because I was good. It was the more I do this better, the safer I can be to come home. If you're lifting a 10-ton crane that's sort of about 6 foot away, a 10-ton load, you don't want to be whacking that lever because that metal will break. It will weaken and you will probably die. That's what happens. So I was always very smooth and very, very soft with my levers because, I want to go home tonight. And that made me quite good at what I did. And it was hard to leave it, but there are some components of driving trucks, like listening to radio all day, having my choice of music all day, because I'm my own, CDs, cassette tapes, radio. I could choose what I listen to uninterrupted. What do I do now? Well, I play music all day, pretty much.
Brilliant.
Got me thinking.
Keep thinking. I love it.
Well, but this is the thing. It's not wasted. Whatever you've done in your past, it's not wasted.
No.
I loved music and I got to play music all day long. I'll have this CD, I'll have that CD. Let's have that CD now. I'll go to the radio. What do I do now for a living? Well, I run a radio station where we control what goes out through choosing CDs and music. And
so being a life coach, which is another word which I don't use, but it's like find those things that you have done in the past, things that you have loved. If you're needing a change of direction, sometimes we do. And it's not, we don't want the whole midlife crisis kind of thing. That's not where we want to go. But there is a sense of constantly renewing and refreshing and keeping us alive and alive, not as in just breathing, but alive as in feeling the love of life. And those are the things when we look back and when we can harness those things that we really do enjoy, either because of, for you were encouraged because of the safety to develop your skills to excellence. And it's like, and therefore there's a pleasure that comes from that. And that's lovely. And that's really beautiful. And it's what transferable skills do we have? What things have we been stretched to learn? What things have we developed in? And then see if you do want to pivot, how listening to music all day, as you did do, what kind of a job would that lead you to? So I think you're a brilliant inspiration for people, and I hope if anybody's listening who's thinking, do you know, I really do want, even if it's a hobby, take up something new just for a little hour, be inspired to do something that will freshen and bring that, what did we say, infuse brightness and lightness into
We need
your
a
day.
we need a sensory health tea bag. I'm gonna have to try and work out how we can make that happen. Infusing brightness. But this is the thing: we do our job. I've known guys, and maybe it's a generational thing, perhaps. I've known guys as well. I hated the job, but it's what I did for my family, so I did it for 50 years. Hated it, resented my family, but they had a home. I'm
Mm.
thinking, well, okay, you've earned the money to buy the home, but you're even stating very clearly, I resent my family because I had to go to work every day. Did you? I actually said to one person once, much older, and said, "Did you not think of changing job?" Well, that's stupid. Why would I do that? Well, the bitterness now is probably a good reason because I'm pretty sure that bitterness didn't suddenly happen after 40 years. It was probably there at the first week. And that might have been a good reason, but there was a mentality, I guess, generationally. I'm spitballing here, that you just stuck it out. You keep going, God, and you get to the end. And although that can be great in a war zone, which is I think where my mind is, of regardless what happens, you've just got to keep going. That's appropriate 1940 to 1945, but it's not necessarily appropriate in 2025 in the UK. Perhaps there's a better way of you using your skills. Like, I love listening to music. I would never have gone from trucking music to CEO radio station, but hey, it fits. And actually, I get to lots of driving, which I really, really enjoy. So I've
Yeah,
not lost everything in the
yeah.
switch.
Yeah. And I think bringing our young people up in today's society when so many of us have either been spoken to by the people that were living in in those days or otherwise, and then what are we feeding into the next generation down and freeing up our generation, the next generations coming through that, it's life is not about the one job anymore. And maybe, I mean, I've still stuck to the same job, but what my job has looked like over the last 30 years has changed so much into obviously now delivering it online and now delivering it like across hundreds and potentially thousands of schools and just people around the world and thinking, oh my goodness, I would never ever have thought that to be the case 10, 20, 30 years ago. Yeah, even 10 years ago, there was no, it wasn't even an idea in my mind that this might be possible. And now it is. So yeah, let's infuse all things are possible to the next generations coming through. And don't hold them back or restrict them in any way. That there is so much freedom with it within security. Obviously, we're not saying just be completely reckless with life because there's a family to look after potentially. There are, but yeah, there's so many options in life and go for it.
But God has made us different. I'm reminded of the bit of scripture that says we're all different parts of one body. We all have
Mm,
a different ability of function. We think about the toes on the foot. Well, they're not particularly relevant. Well, they really are if you want to stand up straight, because
mm,
actually your toes are the ones that are going to be detecting movement. Okay, I'm falling forwards because now my toes have got pressure, and the toes at the bottom of our feet, which we might sort of disregard, are really critically important to balance. In the same way that our hands and our thumbs and our eyes and our ears, the auditory process, all of those things come together. But actually, as people in society, in community, in family, actually, we do all have a different role. And sometimes that role will change. As we get older, our ability to feel things might change. Our joints might get stiffer. Somebody was having a joke with me the other day. He used to jump out of bed for his job. Now he does it in stages because he's in his mid 60s. It doesn't change what he's doing. It just changes how perhaps he gets there. But as
mm,
we age, it's different. And actually, it's okay to consider there might be something else that's even more suitable. But isn't it interesting? Some people can do the same job for 40 years. Some people will be bored after a week. Some
mm.
might manage 10 years. And you know what? That's okay, isn't it?
Totally. And like I think it's a remarkable thing. And we do celebrate people who have been in their work and in their jobs for 30, 40, 50 years. Because it is a remarkable thing to be able to have that um what is it? Resilience, I think, more than anything. Because people come and go, there are loads and loads of changes. Society has changed so much, and yet to be able to have that steadfast ability to do something in the midst of all the changes, that is also to be credited. And it's yeah, we had one of our guys at church had I think was it 40 years that he's been on the worship team faithfully
Wow.
playing his guitar, one of the most encouraging guys you'll ever meet. And it was beautiful. There was such an applause last week of just celebrating him and saying thank you for that service, and thank you for giving that gift on such a regular basis. And yeah, it's really special.
We all have gifts to bring. We all have different skills. And here's the thing that we're saying today, I think. we have the skills, we have the gifts, and they change over time and all the rest of it. But sometimes they can quite dramatically change. That could be cause for concern. It's always that thing in medicine. If something dramatically changes, you suddenly put on weight or suddenly lose weight, go and get it checked out. I'm not quite talking about that. But actually, it's okay to explore other things. It's okay to do something different. And if you're not sure what your different is, and maybe your central health is confusing you, perhaps Laure Jackson could help with my little thought for that one. What have you got coming up for yourself in the next few weeks? What's different for you with Sante over on Jersey?
Oh, I'll tell you, it's lovely. I'm connecting more. Well, I'll actually be heading over to Los Angeles again, actually. and doing just exploring, connecting more with American friends.
Cool.
Over there. Yeah, it's expanding into the schools. Really looking forward to meeting with the special educational needs coordinators across the island. Yeah, just busy, but lovely busy. Really lovely busy. And it is nice to be able to support and help people. It's a lovely thing.
Which it's got to be a driver, isn't it, for you? Going back
Yeah.
to no, that wasn't a pun for driving, but it's a driver for you that you get to help people, and however long it takes, if it's 6 weeks or 6 months, eventually there's going to be that change, that light bulb, that transformation. Just like any kind of, if you lose a limb, it's going to take you a while to have rehabilitation. I had heart surgery. It took me 6 weeks to learn to walk again, which is really weird. I had to really concentrate hard because things have a knock-on effect. But it's got to be so exciting and liberating for you when you're seeing somebody who's come with a problem. I can't hold a pen. You were saying the other week, they can't touch paper, actually, is the problem. But when they can, and they can overcome that, or that's got to be that yes moment in the job, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Oh, it is totally. And it's bizarre to think how excited I get about the little things. And I'm like, yeah, just so happy. And I'm thinking, oh, crumbs, if anybody would see me. The families know. The families get it, obviously, because it is the small things that are so significant, because the big things are so far down the line. So you have to celebrate every step, and I think with encouraging them with every step, and or feeding off their sense of celebration that we can do this now and we couldn't do that before, and it's yeah, it's a nice way to learn gratitude and thankfulness and celebrate the small things.
Tremendous stuff. Right. If you want to connect with Anne, if you're thinking, what's my sensory health going on with? It's all completely changed. I can't hold pens anymore. Perhaps it's medical. Perhaps it's a sensory health issue, and perhaps Anne could help you. So go to www.pure247radio.org, pure247radio.org/ALJ, and you can get hold of Anne Laure Jackson, hence the ALJ.
Brilliant.
Thank you, Anne.
Bye.
Did you know Pure 24/7 Radio has a shop? Well, we do. You can buy merchandise while supporting the work that we do here. Simply head over to www.pure247radio.org/shop. That's www.pure247radio.org/shop.